Most experienced preppers don't wait until there's a hurricane warning, prices go up, or store shelves start looking empty. They're quietly stocking up on everyday foods that most people walk right past every week. Not expensive survival products, not anything unusual. Just 12 essential foods that store well, provide real nutrition, and can be combined into actual meals. Before September is a good time to check what's missing. While you can still compare prices, check expiration dates, and buy a little at a time within your budget. And the number one item isn't the most expensive or the highest in protein. But without it, most of the other items are just separate ingredients. 12. Raw honey. More than 3,000 years ago, a sealed jar of honey was placed deep inside an ancient Egyptian tomb. After thousands of years in the dark, much of the material around it had broken down, but the honey inside remained remarkably stable. That wasn't a miracle. Honey has 3 natural characteristics that very few foods have at the same time: extremely low moisture, a high sugar concentration, and mild acidity. Those 3 factors create an environment where bacteria, mold, and many other spoilage microorganisms struggle to grow. When it's kept sealed, stored in a cool, dry place, and protected from direct sunlight, raw honey can maintain its quality for an exceptionally long time. What's remarkable is that more than 3,000 years later, people are still buying that same food. The only difference is this. By 2026, honey in the United States had become more expensive, while the domestic supply had grown weaker. USDA data released in March 2026 showed that the average U.S. honey price in 2025 increased by about 27%. During the same period, domestic honey production fell 14%, the number of honey-producing bee colonies declined 7%, and producer inventories were 15% lower than a year earlier. Simply put, the United States entered the first half of 2026 with less domestic honey, lower reserves, and higher prices. When a large share of the supply has to come from overseas, retail prices also become more vulnerable to shipping costs, weather, and international disruptions. But higher prices still aren't the biggest reason experienced preppers buy honey before September. 1 tablespoon of honey provides about 60 calories, mostly from simple carbohydrates that the body can use quickly. During a power outage, after a sleepless night, when meals become irregular, or when you're physically active, it's a source of energy that requires no stove, no fuel, and no preparation time. You can eat it straight from the spoon, mix it into warm water, stir it into oatmeal, or pair it with peanut butter. In less than 30 seconds, honey and peanut butter become a combination of carbohydrates, fat, and protein that's much easier to eat than many dry emergency foods. Honey is also commonly used to help soothe a sore throat or a mild cough. However, it shouldn't be considered a substitute for medication or professional medical care. When buying honey, choose one with only a single ingredient: honey. Don't judge it by its color or thickness, because real honey can be light or dark, runny or crystallized, depending on the flowers the bees visited and the temperature. If your honey crystallizes, that's usually a natural process. Just place the sealed jar in warm water, store it in a cool, dry place, and always use a dry spoon to avoid introducing extra moisture into the jar. Honey doesn't replace a complete meal, but it provides quick energy, makes stored foods easier to eat, and can sit safely on the shelf for a very long time. 11. Canned fruit. After 3 or 4 days of eating nothing but rice, pasta, beans, and canned meat, the problem may no longer be a lack of calories. The problem is that you stop wanting to eat another meal that looks exactly the same. A pantry filled with savory foods can provide plenty of energy and protein, but when every meal is dry, heavy, or has the same texture, People who are stressed, exhausted, young children, and especially older adults can easily end up eating less than they normally would. That's the gap canned fruit fills. A can of peaches, pears, pineapple, or mandarin oranges is ready to eat the moment you open it. No electricity, no cooking, and no stored water required. It adds sweetness, moisture, and a sense of freshness that rice, beans, or canned meat simply can't provide. In an emergency diet, sweetness and moisture aren't luxuries. They help people keep eating enough. The nutritional value of canned fruit is often underestimated as well. It can still provide fiber, vitamin C, potassium, and antioxidant compounds. Mandarin oranges and pineapple are especially useful for adding vitamin C. Peaches and pears are soft and easy to chew, while applesauce requires almost no chewing at all, making it a good option when someone is tired, has a dry mouth, or has lost their appetite. When it comes to price, it's still one of the most affordable ways to keep fruit in your pantry. At Walmart, store-brand cans currently cost about $178 for 15-ounce peaches packed in juice, $198 for mandarin oranges, and around $176 for a 20-ounce can of pineapple. Prices vary by region, but one can is usually enough for 2 or 3 small servings. When shopping, choose fruit packed in juice or light syrup whenever possible. Heavy syrup provides extra calories, but it also adds more sugar and can make people tire of it more quickly. Don't buy an entire case of just one variety. Peaches and pears are good for people who have trouble chewing. Pineapple and mandarin oranges have a sweet tart flavor that helps cut through the heaviness after several savory meals. Applesauce works well for breakfast or as a light snack. Pay attention to can size. During a power outage, a family size may leave leftovers that you can't keep safely. Smaller cans, fruit cups, or applesauce pouches are usually a better fit for people living alone and retired couples. The USDA classifies canned fruit as a high-acid food and recommends using it within about 12 to 18 months for the best quality. Once opened, any leftovers should be refrigerated and used within 5 to 7 days. For people living alone or retired couples, smaller cans, fruit cups, or applesauce pouches are usually the more practical choice. During a power outage, the smaller size makes it easier to finish everything in one sitting and avoids having leftovers to store. A well-stocked pantry doesn't just make sure you have enough food, it also helps you keep wanting to eat. 10. Canned tomatoes. One of the most common mistakes people make when building a pantry is focusing only on foods that provide calories. Rice, pasta, beans, and canned meat can keep you full. But without ingredients that tie them together, they're still just separate foods. A bowl of plain rice, a simple serving of beans, or a plate of pasta with almost no flavor. Canned tomatoes change that. Just one can add moisture, acidity, color, and depth to an entire meal. Add diced tomatoes to beans, and you can make chili or bean stew. Combine crushed tomatoes with pasta, garlic, and a little cooking oil, and you have pasta sauce. Tomato sauce can turn rice and canned meat into Spanish rice or serve as the base for a quick pot of soup. One can of tomatoes doesn't provide many calories, but it can make thousands of other calories in your pantry. Food actually get eaten. Each type of canned tomato has its own purpose. Diced tomatoes keep their shape and work well in chili, soups, and stews. Crushed tomatoes create a thicker texture for pasta sauce. Tomato sauce is the easiest option when you're short on time, fuel, or energy. If you're only stocking 2 types, diced tomatoes and tomato sauce will handle most basic meals. The value of tomatoes isn't just in their flavor. They also provide vitamin C, potassium, and lycopene, the antioxidant compound that gives tomatoes their distinctive red color. Cooked and crushed tomatoes are still a notable source of lycopene, and eating them with a little cooking oil can help your body absorb it more effectively. If you need to watch your sodium intake, choose no salt added or low sodium varieties. As for price, a 14 to 15 ounce store brand can usually cost around $1, depending on where you live. Paired with pasta, beans, or rice, one can serve as the base for about 3 to 4 servings. So its real value isn't in the calories inside the can. It's in how many other meals it helps complete at a very low cost. Because canned tomatoes are high in acid, they should be rotated more often than rice, salt, or dried beans. Try to use them within about 12 to 18 months to maintain their best flavor and quality. That doesn't mean they automatically go bad after that point, but they're not something you should buy and forget about for years. Managing your pantry is simple. Write the purchase month on the lid, keep older cans in front, and put new ones in the back. Each month, use a few cans in your regular meals, then replace them with new ones. For people living alone or retired couples, smaller cans are usually more practical than large ones because they reduce leftovers during a power outage. Once opened, any leftovers should be refrigerated and used promptly. Store cans in a cool, dry place, not next to the stove, under the sink, or in a hot garage. Throw away any can that's bulging, leaking, heavily rusted, or deeply dented along the seam. Canned tomatoes aren't the centerpiece of a well-stocked pantry. They're the ingredient that helps rice, pasta, beans, and canned meat work better together. 9. Rolled oats. Rolled oats are often seen as a food that's just too ordinary. They don't have a bold flavor, they don't stand out, and they don't seem like an important emergency food. But in a well-stocked pantry, that simplicity is exactly what makes them so useful. A serving of about half a cup of dry rolled oats provides nearly 150 calories, along with complex carbohydrates, fiber, plant protein, iron, and magnesium. Oats aren't the most calorie-dense food on their own, but they create a meal that's easy to build on. Add honey for sweetness and quick energy, peanut butter for extra fat and protein, or powdered milk to make it richer and more nutritious. Preparing them doesn't have to depend entirely on a stove. If you have electricity or fuel, rolled oats cook in just a few minutes. If you're trying to save fuel, you can soak them in clean water for about 20 to 30 minutes or longer, depending on the thickness of the oats and the water temperature. In hot weather, only prepare enough for one meal and eat it as soon as the oats have softened. For older adults, this is one of the easiest grains to eat. The texture can be adjusted by adding more water. It requires very little chewing, and the serving size can easily be increased or reduced based on appetite. Someone who's tired or has a poor appetite can start with a small bowl instead of opening a large can of food and figuring out what to do with the leftovers. Oats don't have to be a sweet food either. A small amount can be added to soups or stews to make them thicker. Ground into a coarse flour, they can be mixed with water, powdered milk, or eggs if available to make simple skillet pancakes. Mixed with salt, seasonings, or canned meat, oats can also become a savory meal that's suitable for lunch or dinner. Cost is another major advantage. A large container of rolled oats usually costs around $4 to $7 and provides about 20 to 30 servings, depending on the brand and size. That works out to just a few cents per basic serving before adding any other ingredients. Meanwhile, a single cup of coffee from a coffee shop can cost almost as much as the entire container and only lasts one morning. When buying oats for storage, choose plain rolled oats whenever possible. Flavored instant packets are convenient, but they're usually more expensive per serving and may contain much more sugar or sodium. Large containers work well for a home pantry, while a few smaller packets are useful in an emergency bag or when you need something portable. In unopened packaging and stored in a cool, dry place, rolled oats generally maintain good quality for about 12 to 24 months. Once opened, transfer them to an airtight container to help protect against moisture, insects, and odors from other foods. Write the purchase month on the container. Use the older oats first, and throw them away if you notice a rancid smell, signs of moisture, or insects. Rolled oats aren't the most eye-catching item on the shelf, but they're inexpensive, easy to prepare, easy to adjust, and work well with many other foods in your pantry. 1 cup of coffee from a coffee shop only gets you through one morning. 1 container of rolled oats can help you through many mornings to come. 8. Peanut butter. 8 hours after the power goes out, very few people still want to cook a large meal. The stove may not be working, fuel needs to be conserved, and clean water shouldn't be used just for cooking and washing dishes. That's when peanut butter becomes one of the most useful foods in your pantry. No cooking, no electricity, no water. Just open the lid, and it's ready to eat. 2 tablespoons of peanut butter provide about 190 calories, along with fat, protein, and carbohydrates. A small serving can add nearly 200 calories without opening a can, heating anything up, or creating leftovers. That's especially helpful when meals are delayed, someone is tired, or they simply don't want to eat a large portion. Peanut butter also pairs well with many other pantry foods. Spread it on crackers or a tortilla, and you have a quick meal with carbohydrates, fat, and protein. Stir it into oatmeal, and breakfast becomes much more filling. Pair it with honey, and you have a sweet, soft snack that's ready in just seconds. But peanut butter's biggest advantage isn't just the calories. It's a familiar flavor that many families have enjoyed for years. During stressful situations, people are usually much more willing to eat familiar foods than dry survival bars or emergency rations with unfamiliar flavors. Food only has real value if the people in your home are actually willing to eat it. When it comes to cost, a 16-ounce jar usually sells for around $2 to $5, depending on the brand and the store. Each jar provides about 14 2-tablespoon servings, meaning each serving usually costs only a few cents. Considering the number of calories it provides, it's one of the best values on the shelf. For long-term storage, regular commercial peanut butter is usually easier to manage than natural peanut butter. Natural varieties tend to separate and require stirring, while regular peanut butter keeps a more stable texture during long periods on the shelf. Even so, read the label and choose products with a short ingredient list that don't contain excessive added sugar or oils. Small or medium-sized jars are usually more practical than oversized ones, especially for people living alone or retired couples. They're easier to rotate, less likely to stay open for too long, and more convenient if you need to take them with you. In unopened packaging, commercial peanut butter generally maintains good quality for about 1 to 2 years, depending on the best buy date. Once opened, keep the lid tightly closed, store it in a cool, dry place, and always use a clean knife or spoon. If it develops a rancid smell, an unusually bitter taste, mold, or a noticeable color change, throw it away. One warning can't be ignored. Peanut butter is not suitable for people with peanut allergies. If someone in your household has a peanut allergy, choose another source of fat and protein and completely avoid the risk of cross-contamination. Peanut butter doesn't replace a complete meal. But during the first hours of a power outage, it solves 3 problems at once. It provides plenty of calories, requires no preparation, and offers a familiar taste. In a difficult situation, the food people are actually willing to eat will always be more valuable than an expensive product that just sits untouched on the shelf. 7. Canned beans. When people think about stored protein, canned meat is usually the first thing that comes to mind. But during a power outage or when fuel is limited, canned beans are often the more practical choice because they're already cooked and ready to eat. One serving typically provides about 6 to 8 grams of protein, along with fiber, iron, and folate. Black beans pair well with rice and tomatoes. Kidney beans are perfect for chili or soup. Pinto beans can be mashed and eaten with tortillas. Chickpeas work well in salads or stews, while navy beans are soft, mild, and easy for older adults to eat. Dried beans are still cheaper per serving and better suited for long-term storage. However, they require soaking, plenty of water, and a long cooking time. Canned beans solve all three of those limitations: time, water, and fuel. That's why the two aren't complete replacements for each other. Each one serves a different purpose. A can of beans can be mixed with rice, pasta, tomatoes, or cooking oil to make a quick meal. If the liquid in the can isn't overly salty, it can be used in soups or stews instead of being poured down the drain. When shopping, it's better to keep several different varieties rather than buying an entire case of just one kind. If you need to watch your sodium intake, choose low sodium or no salt added varieties. If you're using regular canned beans and have plenty of clean water, you can drain or quickly rinse them before eating. A store brand can usually cost about $1 or less, making canned beans one of the most affordable, ready-to-eat sources of protein on the shelf. Keep a variety of beans instead of buying a whole case of just one type. If the liquid in the can isn't overly salty, you can use it to thicken soup or add moisture to a stew instead of throwing it away. Dried beans win on long-term cost. Canned beans win on the day you no longer have enough time, water, or fuel to cook. Out of everything in the first half of this list, which item is your pantry still missing? Leave just one item in the comments. 6. Cooking oil. A pantry can be filled with rice, pasta, and beans and still be missing one important ingredient: fat. Just 1 tablespoon of oil provides about 120 calories without adding much volume to a meal. That's especially helpful for older adults, people who are tired, or anyone who struggles to eat large portions. Fat also helps the body absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K, so the value of cooking oil goes far beyond flavor. A small amount can boost the calories in rice, pasta, or beans, make tomato sauce richer, and help soups or stews feel less dry. When fresh food is limited, cooking oil makes basic ingredients more satisfying and much more versatile. The price of cooking oil can also change faster than many people realize. Soybean, canola, sunflower, and olive oil production all depend on the weather. Drought, extreme heat, fertilizer costs, fuel, transportation, and packaging can all push prices higher. For imported oils like olive oil, seasonal harvests and international shipping costs add even more pressure. That's why before September is a good time to check how much cooking oil you have left, instead of waiting until the bottle is almost empty or prices climb even higher. You don't need to buy a huge container. Just keep enough for a few weeks or a few months of normal use and add more gradually when you find a good price. No single oil is the best choice for every family. Canola oil and vegetable oil have a neutral flavor, are usually affordable, and work well for many different meals. Olive oil pairs well with pasta, salads, tomatoes, and moderate heat cooking. Coconut oil is worth storing only if your family already enjoys the flavor and uses it regularly. One practical approach is to keep 2 types: 1 bottle of a neutral oil for everyday cooking and 1 small bottle of olive oil for flavor. That gives you flexibility without making your pantry more complicated. Large bottles are usually cheaper per ounce, but they aren't always the better value. Once opened, oil is exposed to air, light, and heat, so its quality gradually declines. For smaller households, several small or medium-sized bottles are usually easier to rotate than one large container. Most unopened cooking oils maintain good quality for about 12 to 24 months, depending on the type and the best buy date. Write the date you opened the bottle on the label. Close the cap immediately after each use, and store it in a dark cabinet away from a hot stove or sunny window. If the oil develops a paint-like smell, an old nutty odor, a bitter taste, or an unusual rancid smell, throw it away. The biggest mistake is buying far more than you need just because it's on sale. A large container of oil isn't a bargain if your family can't use it before the quality starts to decline. Rice, pasta, and beans can keep you full. But the right amount of cooking oil helps those foods provide more energy, improves nutrient absorption, and turns them into meals your family will actually want to eat. 5. Iodized salt. In the early 20th century, many inland parts of the United States were known as the goiter belt because iodine deficiency was so common. In 1924, iodized salt first appeared on store shelves in Michigan. By adding just a tiny amount of iodine to a seasoning that nearly every family already used, an ordinary product became an important tool in preventing iodine deficiency. A century later, salt is still one of the most overlooked items in a well-stocked pantry. It's inexpensive, takes up very little space, and feels so ordinary, yet just a small amount can make rice, beans, pasta, or soup much easier to eat. The value of salt goes beyond flavor. Sodium supports nerve function, muscle function, and fluid balance. Iodized salt also provides iodine, a mineral the thyroid needs to produce hormones. That's why iodized salt is usually a better choice for everyday meals than salts that don't contain added iodine. However, more isn't always better. Canned foods, soups, and processed meats may already contain plenty of sodium. Anyone who needs to limit salt or is managing a medical condition should continue following their doctor's advice. In a pantry, salt's most practical role is making staple foods less bland and repetitive. A small amount can improve rice, beans, pasta, savory oatmeal, or homemade soup without having to buy expensive sauces or seasonings. Salt is also used in brining and some traditional food preservation methods, but those techniques require safe recipes and proper ratios. Simply sprinkling salt on food doesn't mean it can be stored longer. A box of iodized salt costs only a few dollars, but can last through hundreds of meals. Keeping 1 or 2 extra sealed boxes on hand usually makes more sense than waiting until a weather warning sends everyone rushing to buy it. Choose iodized salt for everyday cooking. Kosher salt or other coarse salts are only necessary if your family regularly uses them in specific recipes, since they aren't direct substitutes for table salt when measured by the same volume. Salt can remain stable for a very long time as long as it's kept dry. Once you open the paper box, transfer it to an airtight container, label the type of salt, and store it in a cool, dry place. Iodized salt isn't the most impressive item in your pantry, but history shows that sometimes a very small change to a very ordinary food can make a big difference for an entire family. 4. Non-fat dry milk. After one night without power, the fresh milk in your refrigerator may no longer be safe to drink. Meanwhile, non-fat dry milk remains stable on the shelf until you're ready to mix it. Dry milk provides protein, calcium, and many of the nutrients naturally found in milk. It's especially useful for older adults or people who eat small portions because it can boost nutrition without making a meal much larger. You don't have to mix it into a glass of milk. The powder can be stirred into oatmeal, soups, mashed potatoes, sauces, or used in place of fresh milk in many baking recipes. A box or bag usually costs around $8 to $15, and can make about 3 to 5 gallons of milk, depending on the product. On a per-cup basis, the cost is usually quite low and creates much less waste than fresh milk. If your goal is long-term storage, non-fat dry milk is usually a better choice than whole milk powder because it contains less fat and is less likely to become rancid. In unopened packaging and stored in a cool, dry place, many products maintain good quality for about 18 to 24 months. Be sure to account for the clean water you'll need to mix it, and always follow the mixing directions on the label. During an extended power outage, only prepare enough for one meal because reconstituted milk needs to be refrigerated and used promptly. Once opened, it's best to divide the dry milk into several small airtight containers. Open only one at a time so the rest isn't repeatedly exposed to air and moisture. Non-fat dry milk is not suitable for people with a cow's milk protein allergy or severe lactose intolerance. When the refrigerator stops working, dry milk helps your family keep a reliable source of protein, calcium, and the soft, familiar foods that older adults often find easier to eat. 3. Dry pasta. Dry pasta is so familiar that many people think of it as nothing more than a cheap food. But in a well-stocked pantry, it can turn separate ingredients into a hot meal that's much easier to enjoy. A 16-ounce box usually provides about 8 servings. Each 2-ounce dry serving delivers nearly 200 calories before adding sauce, oil, beans, or meat. At just a few dollars per box, it's one of the most affordable sources of carbohydrates on a per-serving basis. Most pasta cooks in about 8 to 12 minutes in boiling water, making it faster than dried beans and many whole grains. When fuel is limited, that shorter cooking time becomes a clear advantage. Canned tomatoes can become a simple red sauce. Beans or canned meat add protein. Cooking oil, salt, and seasonings create a basic meal. Dry milk can make pasta or soup richer and creamier. Save a little of the starchy pasta water to thicken sauce or soup in the same meal. If you're trying to conserve water, start with only the amount you actually need. A plate of hot pasta with tomato sauce also feels much more like a normal dinner than dry crackers or a cold emergency ration. Soft cooked pasta is easy to chew and easy to portion, making it a good choice for older adults or anyone who's tired. When buying pasta for storage, choose pasta made from durum wheat semolina whenever possible because it's widely available and holds its texture well. Egg noodles are usually less suitable for long-term storage because they contain added eggs and fat. Keeping just 2 or 3 shapes your family already enjoys is enough. In its original unopened package and stored in a cool, dry place, pasta generally maintains good quality for about 1 to 2 years, depending on the best by date. If you're storing it longer, transfer it from the cardboard box into an airtight container to help protect it from moisture and insects. Write the purchase month on the container, use the older pasta first, and throw it away if you notice unusual odors, signs of moisture, mold, or insects. During a long emergency, sometimes the thing that helps people keep eating enough is simply a hot plate of pasta that makes the kitchen feel normal again. 2. Canned meat and fish. After several hours without power, the meat in your freezer starts becoming something you need to deal with immediately. Meanwhile, the cans of meat and fish on your pantry shelf remain exactly the same. That's the greatest value of this category. A complete source of protein that doesn't require refrigeration before it's opened. Canned chicken, tuna, salmon, and beef are all fully cooked and ready to eat. Or they can be combined with rice, pasta, beans, and canned tomatoes. Each one serves a different purpose. Chicken and tuna have a mild flavor that's easy to use in quick meals. Salmon provides protein, omega-3s, vitamin D, and vitamin B12. Beef has a richer flavor and provides more energy, but it usually contains more sodium and fat. That's why you shouldn't stock an entire case of just one type. A balanced pantry should include a few cans of chicken, tuna, salmon, and beef to provide variety in flavor, texture, and nutrition. Tuna is usually the least expensive. Chicken and salmon cost more, while beef only needs to be stocked in moderate amounts to add variety. When shopping, choose some low-sodium or no-salt added varieties, especially if someone in your household needs to watch their sodium intake. Fish packed in water has a milder flavor, while fish packed in oil provides extra calories. Smaller cans are usually more practical for people living alone or retired couples because they reduce leftovers after opening. Pull-tab cans are convenient when you need food quickly, but you should still keep a manual can opener. During an extended power outage, open only enough for one meal. Once opened, leftovers should be refrigerated if possible, and shouldn't be left at room temperature for long. Canned meat and fish generally maintain good quality for several years, as long as the cans remain intact and are stored in a cool, dry place. Write the purchase month on the lid. Use the older cans first, and throw away any can that's bulging, leaking, heavily rusted, or deeply dented along the seam. When the freezer can no longer protect your food, the cans of protein on your shelf keep doing exactly what they were meant to do. 1. White rice. White rice isn't ranked number 1 because it contains every nutrient. It isn't the most exciting food, and it's certainly not something you can open and eat right away. Rice does something that very few other foods on this list can do. It ties your entire pantry together into a complete meal system. 1 pound of dry white rice can provide more than 1,600 calories and makes multiple servings once cooked. It's inexpensive, easy to portion, and can become a main dish, a side dish, porridge, or the base for soup. But the real value of rice only becomes clear when it's paired with other foods. Rice and beans create a meal with carbohydrates, plant protein, and fiber. Rice with canned meat or fish adds complete protein. Tomatoes become Spanish rice, soup, or stew. Cooking oil increases the calorie density. Salt makes the entire pot much more enjoyable to eat. Rice can also be cooked into a soft porridge with dry milk and a little honey. Without rice, you may still have plenty of food, but you may not have a complete meal system. White rice is also better suited for long-term storage than brown rice because it contains less natural oil. Once you open the bag, divide it into smaller portions and store them in airtight containers to help protect against moisture and insects while avoiding the need to open your entire supply every time you cook. Don't buy an enormous amount just because rice is inexpensive. Plan based on the number of people in your household, realistic serving sizes, and the amount of water and fuel you'll need to cook it. Rice isn't the most complete food in your pantry. It's the foundation that allows beans, meat, fish, tomatoes, cooking oil, salt, and dry milk to work together. A good pantry isn't built by buying huge amounts all at once. It's built with foods that work together and that your family already eats on a regular basis. Rice, pasta, and oats form the foundation of your meals. Beans, peanut butter, dry milk, canned meat, and canned fish provide protein. Cooking oil and salt add energy and improve flavor. Tomatoes, fruit, and honey bring moisture, variety, and help people keep wanting to eat. You don't need to buy all 12 items today. Check your pantry, choose the 3 items you're missing, and add them little by little as your budget allows. Write down the purchase date, use the older items first, and store only the foods your family actually eats. Being prepared isn't about panic. It's about creating a simple, balanced, and reliable system so that when life doesn't go according to plan, your family can still calmly open the pantry and prepare a real meal.